In this tutorial, I will show you how to create table of contents. So you have been working with your research paper or a large document which contains lots of headings and subheadings and sections and so forth. I will show you, demonstrate how to take all these headings and then create a table of content within Word 2013. A couple of ways we can do this. We can use built-in table of contents, or we can create our own table of contents. So let's take a look at how to create table of contents in Word 2013. The References tab contains the table of contents group. Okay, so once I click on References, on the left side, my first group on the left is Table of Contents. And here I can insert Table of Contents, which is again built-in Table of Contents. First couple of options, or I can create a manual Table of Contents list. I can download from office.com some templates of Table of Contents, set custom Table of Contents, or remove them. And notice the last option, though it's dimmed out, because right now I don't have any Table of Contents created. If I had a Table of Contents, then I could simply save it as a building block, right? So you save selection Table of Contents gallery, so I can reuse the same style for my future research papers. The other option is add text. Here I can add various text to the table of contents, or I can say do not show in table of contents if I need to, or I can update the table. Once I have created a table of contents, I can update the table of contents. For example, if I made changes to the headings or the subheadings, I need to update the table. So Word will automatically update the table of contents, as opposed to doing things manually, which will consume a lot of time. So let me demonstrate how it's done. To create a table of contents, first we define the headings, right? So we need to define our headings as what style of headings do we want. So for example, my first heading in this paper is Introduction. I need to go back to my Home tab, and under Styles I need to say, well, use heading 1 style for my first heading. Okay, and you can use heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. I scroll down to my next heading, simply highlight, and tell Word that I want heading 1 for my next heading. I continue on for the rest of my headings, okay, whichever I have for my within my research paper, okay, because I'm going to tell Word later on that, hey, use these headings and create a table of content. Okay, so I'm just defining these styles as heading 1, and I'm going to use references here as my heading also. Okay. All right, so I've defined all these headings. Okay, so let's get back up here and place the insertion point where I want the table of contents to be. So I'm going to insert a few lines. Oops. Okay, this is where I want, and maybe I don't want 24. I want a regular table of contents. Okay. So once I've identified these styles as heading 1 for all my headings, which is again done in the Home tab and in my Styles group. Once I'm done with that, I place the cursor or the insertion point where I want the table of contents to be. I have to go back up to my References tab, and under Table of Contents, I simply select the table type. So I'm going to say, okay, well, insert this type. And notice the difference between the two is that the automatic Table 1 contents label context that includes all text formatted with headings 1 and 3 styles, and the same thing label table of contents that includes all text formatting with 1 and 3 styles. So this is essentially pretty much the same. The only difference is that this says table of contents and this is just contents. Or you can create your own manual table of contents as well. All right, so I'm going to select my automatic table 2, and as soon as I do this, it's going to create a table of contents for me. I can format this the way I want it. I can update it. Notice as soon as I click anywhere within the table of contents, Word tells me, hey, do you want to update the table? And if I update now, nothing's going to happen for now because I didn't make any changes. But just to show you, once I click on Update Table, it gives me the Update Table of Contents dialog box. And this is where I can say, okay, update page numbers only, or update the entire table. Okay. So even if I say okay, it's essentially the same. All right, let's say if I want a subheading. So after introduction, I'd like to create a subheading which is going to say Global HRM Challenges. Okay. And let me continue on and update the table. I can right click anywhere on the table, click update field, or I can use this. Same thing. And update entire table. And notice what happens. Okay. What it does, it creates another heading, level 1, which is Global HRM Challenges, which is right here. Okay. And the reason why it used heading 1 is because this style, Global HRM Challenges, is also same as introduction level heading. What happens if I define this Global HRM Challenges to be a heading 2? Okay, so I select Global HRM Challenges. I go back up to my Home tab so I can see my styles gallery. And here's my heading 2. So I apply heading 2 style to this. I'm also going to do some formatting here. Okay. And let's go back to our References tab. So you can see a table of contents. Now if I right click or just update table from here, update table, and notice Word tabs it a little bit, okay, which essentially means that, hey, this is my main heading is introduction, and then heading 2 is Global HRM Challenges. And of course I can format any which way I want. If I need to change some formatting text, for example, if I make it bold using my keyboard, I can say Control B, which is bold, and Control I for italic. Notice my table does not change. I have to update the table. So as soon as I update the table, entire table, boom. So very, very efficient way to working with table of contents. You can work with them, you can edit them, you can update the table, and of course you can create many links to your document back and forth. So if you have large documents that you work with, very, very easy way to use. And of course you can always select the table and then save it as a building block, or change styles. You can create your own style sets or styles for this table of contents, so you can have the same formatting or the requirement based on the requirements that you have. So I've demonstrated how to create or insert a table of contents. If you need to create a manual table of contents, you follow the same process. Okay, so there's no difference. Okay, you just create the headings, you define the headings, you insert the headings into your table of contents, and you define the styles. Let me also demonstrate how to create a table of contents manually. So we've seen the built-in table of contents within Word 2013. What if you were to create your own table of contents based on the headings that you have, and you wish not to use some of the built-in templates? To do this, we do exactly the same process. So let me run this again. Highlight, go to our Home tab, and let's say this is our heading 1. And I'm just going to do the same for my headings, just like I did earlier. Okay. And this is a good practice also, so you can see it one more time how to create table of contents, but at the end you'll be able to see how to create manual table of contents and how to work with additional headings so that it's easier to identify based on various headings. Okay, so my primary headings are all heading 1. This is how I've set this up to be. Scroll up here to my introduction. So once I've done this, I'm going to place my insertion point. Oops, go down here where I want my table of contents to be, and I'm going to use again the size 12. Okay, to do this, go to my References tab. Okay, and that's where my table of contents are. And notice in this instance, I'm not going to use the built-in templates. Okay, I'm going to use an option called Custom Table of Contents. So I select this. Word automatically shows me the preview. I can have the option to say use hyperlinks instead of page numbers so that it's easier to navigate. I can say show page numbers or not show page numbers next to my headings. If I choose to show page numbers, I can define it the way I want. I can select a template. Okay, so distinctive, fancy, modern, okay, formal, or I want something simple. Okay, so let's hit formal here for now. I can choose the type of lines that I want and what automatically shows me in the preview. I can right align the page numbers or have it right next to the headings. Okay, you can see that. And my levels are up to 5. So notice how my heading level changes as I change the levels on show. So if I insert, for instance, under my heading 1, which is introduction in this instant case, if I insert a subheading, that would be level heading 2, and then a subheading would be a level heading 3, 4, and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right, well, show up to level 5. It's fine. I can click on options. This option dialog box is pretty nice because it allows me to actually see. If I scroll down in available styles, notice how I see my heading 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And let me put this aside here so you can see. And in this instance also, when I'm creating table of contents manually, I have 5 heading options. What if I want more? I can certainly say, okay, well, give me heading 6 also. So it just depends on how many level of headings you have or you want like to create for your table of contents. Okay, so this is where you can edit the available heading styles. Okay. So I click OK on my options and notice where it shows me the heading 6 also automatically because I've selected it. So once I'm done creating my table of contents the way I want them to be, I click OK, and boom, Word inserts a table of content for me. And here, notice it's a manual table of contents inserted, and I can always click on, since I've had it set it up to be web links, so I can click on the control key on my keyboard and then follow link. It'll take me to the framework and research objective. And here I can create another link which takes me back. Remember in our earlier tutorial, you can create a bookmark and a hyperlink, so it takes you from this page, this particular section or heading, to your table of contents. So I can do the same for any of these. So we've also seen how to create a manual table of contents. Let's take a short quiz now.